Welcome back to the course on digital logic and computer architecture. So what we have seen till now, we have seen the architectural issue, and basically we have discussed about the instruction format and instruction set and what are the different kind of instruction that we are going to or we can design for a particular microprocessor, particular processor or CPU. Now today we are going to see a real life processor. This is 8085 microprocessor. Alright. So this is a very simple one. It is very easy to understand. Okay, that's why I have picked up these things. And though it is a very simple one and it is a very, maybe you can say this is a very fast microprocessor, still people are using this particular microprocessor to design some control mechanism. It is not used for computer, but earlier also 8085 is not made for build computers, but the next version, that next processor 8086, that is basically built to designed to build a computers. So we are going to see the 8085 microprocessor with a special emphasis toward the instruction set and instruction characteristic. We will just going to give you some idea of when you are going to design a new processor, how people are come up with that particular instruction format, because we are going to give some instruction. Now how we are going to provide this particular or implement those particular instruction, that means how we are going to give the format and how we are going to interpret it. Okay, so these are the things that we are going to discuss today with respect to 8085. All right. So just first I want to give it a block diagram of this particular processor. Okay. Now what basically we have to see, I said that one of the design decision is your number of registers. How many registers we are going to give. So here in this particular case you can say this is the register bank. So we are having general purpose register B, C, D, E and H cell. These are the general purpose register that we have. So total 6 general purpose register, and size of the general purpose register is 8-bit, but we are having a provision to combine two register like the B and C, T and E and H and L, and going to work with 16-bit of information. So B is 8-bit, C is 8-bit, so we can combine together, we are going to have 16-bit. So we can use two register together and we say this is the register pair, and these are the three register pair that we have. So basically it is an 8-bit processor where we can work with 8-bit information in one go. Why we say it is 8-bit processor? Because whatever ALU operation we are having, it can be done on 8-bit. Now if you look into it, this is the arithmetic and logic unit. So two inputs are coming, one is coming from this accumulator, second one is coming from the temporary register. So you just see by looking into this particular configuration, now I will say that this is a accumulator based processor. So one of the operand will be always come from the accumulator, and finally result will be stored in your accumulator. So this is the two inputs I am going to give. One is in an accumulator, second one is your temporary register. Depending on the operation, it is going to perform this particular operation, and that result will be put into this particular internal CPU bus. So this is a 8-bit internal data bus, okay, or internal processor bus. So from this particular bus, what will happen? We can transfer it to the appropriate destination. So in most of the cases, what will happen? If I write say instruction called say add B, basically what it is going to do, it is going to do A will be equal to A plus B. Okay, or A is here basically accumulator. So first I have to bring the data to this particular accumulator, one data. Then second data we are going to bring into this particular temporary register. According to the instruction, this is add instruction. So control unit will generate the appropriate signal and it will trigger the adder unit of this particular ALU, and whatever result we are going to get, it will be transferred or it will be placed into this particular internal data bus. Now you just see there will be no data conflict because my both the source are in these two registers. So result will be in my internal data bus. From internal data bus, we are going to place it into the appropriate destination register. Here a destination register will be accumulator, so it will be transferred from internal bus to the accumulator. Okay. Now along with that, we have this particular flags. We are having 5 flag bits. Already I mentioned what is flag register. So we are having 5 flag bits. It may be 0, positive, carry, something like that we are going to see. So we are having 5 flag bits, and already have mentioned that this flag bit will be set or reset depending on the result of my ALU operation. So that's why this flag bit is connected from this particular ALU. So if you are going to perform a ALU operation, now depending on the result, those flag bits will be either set or reset. Okay. So these are the things that we have discussed till now, and along with that, here we are having a program counter, one more register, and we are having another stack pointer register. We'll discuss later on why that stack pointer register is required. Along with that, here we are having this operation, increment decrement operation if required, and to carry out some internal operation, we are having a 8-bit temporary register W, which is sitting over here. So this is temporary register, and this is not feasible to the programmer. A programmer cannot use this particular register, but as a designer, if required, you can use this particular W register to store some temporary information, okay, or intermediate information. So this is basically during design we are going to use it, but users are not going to get this. And along with that, now we are having set data bus and address bus. So here we are having 16 bit of data bus. This will be from A0 to A15. Oh, sorry, this is address bus, and it is having 8 bit of data bus, D0 to D7. Okay, this is address bus and data bus part. Okay, now we have idea of those particular information, and along with that we have this instruction register. So when we fetch the instruction, then we place it in the instruction register, then that will be given as an input to the instruction decoder and machine encoding. Okay, so this is basically, you can talk about the control part of control unit, and after that those information will be used by the timing and control unit. It will be used by the interrupt control. It will be used by that particular serial IO control. So these are basically part of my control unit. Till now we have not discussed about the control unit. Okay, so depending on our design or depending on our requirement, we have to design the control unit, and this control unit is going to generate several control signals that will be required while going to work with this particular processor. So these are the control signals basically we are going to have, and it will be generated. These are basically sub interrupt control signals. When we are going to discuss about the interrupt, then we will discuss about it. And these are basically two input lines. One is your serial input and second one is your serial output. Okay, so this is serial input output control, and these are the other control signals that we are going to get. And this is basically x1 and x2. This is the clock connection. Clock signal will be given through these two diagrams. So we use some crystal clock, and depending on the operating frequency of this particular processor, we have to set the clock accordingly. Okay, so this is in a nutshell. This is the internal structure of your 8085, and till now whatever we have discussed about your computer, we will able to understand those particular portion. Only thing is remaining like that, how we are going to design this particular portion, timing and control, and maybe interrupt control and serial IO control. So when we are going to discuss about the design issues of your control unit, we are going to discuss all those issues. So now after going through it, now what we are going to get, already I mentioned that the size of the data bus is your 8 bits. Okay, and size of register is 8 bit, but we can handle 16 bit also, because we can use two registers together and we can say this is the register pair. Size of the address bus is your 16 bit. Okay, that means we are having a 16-bit address. So what is the memory location that we can address with the help of 16-bit address bus? It is your 2 to the power 16. So this is the memory location that we can connect to this particular processor, and every memory location we are going to store 8 bit of information. So this is the total memory size, and basically it turns out to be your 64 kilobyte. Okay, that means 64 kilo memory location, and every memory location we are going to have 8 bit of information or 1 byte of information. And one more emphasis is that data bus and address bus is multiplex. Okay, now we'll see what does this multiplex mean. Basically, you just see that we are having address bus A0 to A15 and data bus D0 to D7. So total we need 16 plus 8, 24. That means in a shift, when I talk about the ICs, we need 24 input output pins just for address bus and data bus. But if you are going to give more number of IO pins, then cost is going to increase, because that taping of this input output pins is costly affairs. And on the other hand, size of your integrated switch is also going to be increased. So for that, now in this particular case, what it has designed, it says that your address bus and data bus is multiplex. So with same line, we are going to send data as well as address. So basically what will happen, it gives the nomenclature like that: AD0 to AD7, then A8 to A15. So what it means, these 8 lines AD0 to AD7, this is multiplex. When required, we are going to send the address A0 to A7, or if required, we are going to send data to the same line D0 to D7. So this is the multiplexing we are doing. So same 8 lines will be used to give address as well as data. Now we have to distinguish what we have placed in this particular 8 lines, whether it is an address or it is an data. So for that, you just see that this is the layout of our pin diagram. So this is already, I said that X0 pin number 1 and 2, this is basically the clock signal is given through it. We are going to put an crystal clock at this particular point. Secondly, this is the VSS and VCC, these are the power supply. Okay, these are some control signals which is related to the interrupt control. Interrupt acknowledgement, the reset, trap, SID, these are the things. Now these are the things that we are having: AD0 to AD7 and A8 to A15. So these are the lines for my data bus and address bus. Okay, so data bus is your A0 to A15 and data bus is your D0 to D7, and these are the lines where we have this particular multiplexed data and address. Now how we are going to identify which is that information placed in this particular lines are data or address? So for that, we are having one control line, we call it ALE. ALE, this is address latch enable. Okay, first we place some information in this particular 8 lines, and if we enable ALE, address latch enable, then basically we are placing the address in this particular 8 lines, and we are going to latch it out in my design or in my output point. Okay, because this processor will be connected to some other circuitry. So in that additional circuitry, we are going to latch it out, we are going to store it, and we are going to use this as an address. And if AL is low, address latch enable, then whatever information we have in this particular 8 lines will be treated as our data. Okay, so these are the things that this is another control signal. With the help of ALE, we are going to distinguish whether we have placed address or data in this particular 8 lines. Now these are two signals, read bar and write bar. It is going to say whether we are going to perform the read operation or write operation. Then we are having this particular line IOM bar. So it is basically IOM bar. This is input output or memory. So basically these data lines and address lines will be connected to memory or it will be connected to IO devices. So when IO ember is 0, it says that this is ember, basically it says that we are going to access the memory. And when this particular line is 1, it says that we are going to work with an input output device. So whatever address we are going to provide over here, that will be treated as an address of an input output device if IO ember is 1, or if it is 0, then it will be treated as our memory location. Along with that, we are having two signals S0 and S1. So this S0 and S1 basically going to indicate the cycle, whether it is a fetch cycle or whether it is a memory read cycle or whether it is a memory write cycle. Okay, this is the, with these two signals we are going to identify whether whatever we are getting it from the memory, whether it is an instruction phase or it is a data that we are fetching. Okay, these things will be distinguished by these two additional signals S0 and S1. So apart from that, we are having these are the lines reset in, ready, clock out, hold and hold acknowledgement. So these are again related to the input output. So this is related to basically DMA, direct memory access. When we are going to discuss about the input output, maybe at that time I will correlate it, what are this hold and hold acknowledgement and all those particular lines. Okay, interrupt acknowledgement and reset. Alright. So in a nutshell, this is the organization of our 8085, but we are not going to look into the design details. Now we are going to see the instruction format. Okay, basic emphasis will be how people or how the designers design the instruction for this particular microprocessor 8085. So this is basically, it is a IC, integrated circuit chip, and this organization or this particular layout is known as your dual in package. Okay, and it is having total 80 pins, pin number 1 to pin number 40. Okay, so this is the way that we are going to just give you some preliminary information about 8085. You just see, this is a simple diagram, timing diagram, I can say. This is the instruction fetch cycle. Now what will happen in this particular case? It is said that this IO ember is my 0. So basically when IO ember is 0, it will say that we are going to work with the memory. So whatever address you are going to press into the address bus, that will be treated as an address of a memory location. And I already told you that S0 and S1 is going to give you the information about the cycle, what cycle we are going to use. This is basically, if S0 and S1 is equal to 1, it says that it is basically an instruction fetch cycle. Whatever information we are going to bring it from the memory, it will be treated as an instruction. Now you just say that now what is my address? This is your A0 to A7, then A8 to A15. So this is address, and in this particular 8 lines it is multiplex. You may have address and data. So this is A8 to A15, we are pressing the, since it is an instruction phase, address will come from the program counter, so it is coming from the program counter higher byte. So basically if you see, it is a 16-bit counter, 16-bit register. So this is basically, I can say, program counter low byte and program counter higher byte. Okay, so program value of the program counter higher byte will be placed in this particular A8 to A15, and in A0 to A7 we are going to put the value program counter low. Okay, and when we are putting this particular, starting it in this particular time cycle, what will happen? We will give this particular signal ALE, address latch enable. That means since it is high, it indicates that now whatever we have in this particular address line, the particular line, these are basically treated as an address. Okay, so we are giving an address of a memory location. After that, after indicating this particular memory location, now program counter higher byte and program counter lower byte, we are giving to the address bus. Now we are identifying this particular memory location. Then we are going to give the read signal. So from that particular memory location, we are going to get the information, and this is basically, since it is an instruction, we are going to get the output. Okay, So this opcode is coming. So when this opcode will come, or we are fetching it, we are bringing it to the processor, then what will happen? This will be placed in this particular instruction register. Okay. So this is the way we can look into it. We bring this information, and since it is an instruction fetch, we are going to put this information in the instruction register, because these two signals S0 and S1 is going to give us this indication that this is an instruction fetch. Now we are fetching the instruction. So similarly, now this is the same way. One is your memory read cycle, and this is the memory read write cycle. They will be again distinguished with the help of these two signal S0 and S1. Okay, and when it is a memory read signal, so we are giving this particular read signal at that particular point. This is your basically active low. Generally, it remains high. Whenever we are going to read it, then we are going to pull it down to the low. So this is the read, and when in write cycle, we are going to give this particular write signal in appropriate time, and here I am going to get the data. Okay, so these are the data. First I am placing the address, program counter low, then giving the read, so we are going to get the data. So this is the timing diagram for memory read and memory write cycle. Okay, now what I am saying that now basically we are going to discuss about the instruction set and instruction format. Now when we come to the 8085, we will find that we are having three different kind of instruction format. Already I have mentioned that whenever you are going to design the instruction set, it is not possible to stick to one particular format. Depending on our requirement, we are going to have several formats. So in this particular processor 8085, we are having three different format, instruction format. One is your single byte, second one is 2 byte, and third one is your 3 bytes. Okay, it is an 8-bit processor, so 1 byte is going to, we can handle 1 byte at a time. So in 1 byte format, we are having only byte 1. So these are the data 0 to data 7 is going to give me the instruction. But in case of 2 byte instruction, we have to specify the instruction in 2 different bytes, and we have to access it twice. And in case of 3 byte instruction, that instruction will compose of this particular 3 byte. Now say it is an 8-bit processor, size of IR is 8 bit. So what are the different combination that we can have? This is your 2 to the power 8, which is equal to 256. That means we can design 256 different instruction for this particular 8085 processor. Okay, we can design 256 instruction only, nothing more than that. Or if you are not using some of the code, that means my instruction set may have lesser instruction, but we cannot go above 256 because these are the different possible combination that we have. Okay. Now we'll see how designers has designed these three different kind of instruction and how we are going to, how they have designed it. Basically, as a user, say when I am going to use this particular 8085 microprocessor, I don't require all those internal details. I know this is an instruction. This is the way that I have to give. Simply I use this particular instruction. So basically I know if I write add P, say this is an instruction in your 8085 microprocessor, and I know that what it does, it is basically nothing but A is equal to A plus B, where A is the accumulator. Since this instruction is available in 8085 microprocessor, and whenever I am going to use 8085 microprocessor, so I will simply use this instruction and I know what it does. Okay. But when we are going to design the instruction, you have to be very clear about the instruction format. Along with that, about those particular bit position also. Okay, then only you can design that particular instruction. You will be knowing what are the subtasks that you are going to perform for that particular, while going to execute this particular instruction, and accordingly you have to design it. You have to design it means what you have to design? You have to design the control unit of the processor. Okay, this is the way that we are going to look into it. Now you just see what is there. So here basically you just see that some of the terms that we are saying and generally we use while discussion. If I write accumulator, basically it is going to talk about the register A. If I am writing ADDR, basically it says that we are talking about 16-bit address quantity. If it is data, somewhere if we are going to write data, basically it means it is an 8-bit data. If we write data 16, it says that we are going to work with 16-bit data. Byte 2 and byte 3 going to indicate about the second byte and third byte of the instruction. Port is basically related to the input output address. Okay, 8-bit input output address. Basically, we are having IO devices, we have to give the address or we have to attach address to each and every device. So it is an 8-bit address. And if we write lowercase r1, r2, r like that, then it is going to indicate about the register that we have. So we are having total 7 register. It is going to indicate about any one of this particular register. And DDD SSS basically indicate destination and source. Okay, DDD indicate destination and SSS indicate source. Now, why we are using 3D or 3S? Basically, you just see total we are having 7 register over here. So, to identify one of the register, I need at least 3 bits of information. So, we said this is the register encoding. So, what are the encoding over here? When we say it is 111, always it is going to indicate that accumulator. Alright. 0 is going to indicate B. Okay, like that 1 is for C, 2 is for D, 3 is for E, 4 is for H and 5 is for L. Okay, so out of 8 combination, these are the 7 combination used to identify one of this particular register. The last combination that we are having 110, this combination is not used to identify any register. Other 7 combination we have used to identify one of the register. So when this combination is lying free with us, now we are going to use this combination for some other purposes. So this last combination 110 will be used when we are going to refer to a memory location. So with this particular 3 bits, we are going to identify one of the registers, but when we give either source or destination as 110, basically it says that now we are going to deal with a memory location. But 3 bits is not sufficient enough to give the address of a memory location, because we know that we are having a 16-bit address line. So it is going to indicate that we are going to work with a memory location, but how we are going to give the address of a memory location, now we are going to see about it, how designers design it. Alright. So similarly, if we are going to write RP, it is basically says that one of the register pair, maybe it is your B or C. So because we are having a BC can be used as a register pair. If we write in lowercase rp, it will say that one of the register of that particular register pair may be B or C. When we write this particular capital letter RP, it indicates that we are going to work with the register pair. So this is the maybe BC. So what is the code given over here? If RP register pair code is 00, basically we are going to say that we are going to work with the register pair PC. 01 is basically DE, 10 is related to HL, and this is 11, which is known as your stack pointer. SP means stack pointer. I think till now we have not introduced this stack pointer, but what will happen? I think all of you know about the stack. So we can maintain a stack in our memory, and to maintain this particular stack, this stack pointer register is used. Okay. So if time permits, we will discuss about this particular stack pointer. Okay. So this is basically, so again if I write RH, this is a higher byte of my register pair, and RL basically indicate lower byte of my register pair. Okay, sometimes we simply write in this particular. So B is the higher byte of the register pair and C is the lower byte of the register pair. So sometimes if we write RH or RL, it may indicate RH may indicate either it will be B, D or H. Okay, and PC is your program counter, SP is your stack pointer, already I have mentioned, and it again having 2 parts. program counter high or program counter low. Basically program counter higher byte and program counter lower byte. Similarly stack pointer higher byte and stack pointer lower byte. So we are working with a 16-bit register at a program counter and stack pointer. So this is the stack pointer lower byte and this is your stack pointer higher byte. Okay. And if I am going to write RM, then we'll say that mth bit of this particular register. So if I say that B3, so it will basically indicate that third bit of this particular register, 0, 1, 2, 3. It will go from 0 to 7. Okay. So these are the nomenclature. Basically we may use it while going to explain it, and you have to just remember it and accordingly you have to interpret it when we are going to use this thing. Now if you look into the instruction set of 8085, you will find that we are having 5 different categories of instruction. One is your data transfer group. It will transfer information from source to destination. Source may be register or memory location, as well as destination may be a register or it may be a memory location. So we are having transfer of information from one point to other point. For that we need instruction. So we'll say we are going to have some instruction which perform this data transfer task, and we say this is the data transfer group. Next we are having arithmetic group. It is going to perform some arithmetic operation. Third we are having logic group. It is going to perform the logic operation like AND, OR, XOR, etc. Then we are having branch group. So this is the conditional instruction, conditional jump, unconditional jumps, similarly your function calls, returns, etc. And we are having another category which is basically talk about stack operation, input output operation, or that maybe machine control group, because we need some machine control instruction also just to control our operations. So to all those things we are having this category stack, I1, machine control group. Okay, now for every category we are going to see either one or two instruction and how designer has designed it. This is the main emphasis. Whenever you are going to design a processor, you have to design the instruction set, and every instruction is going to perform some particular tasks. You have to carry out those particular tasks, and for that how we are going to represent the instruction, what is the format, and how you are going to interpret it, it has to be done properly. Then only you can implement it or you can design your processor. So here we are going to see this particular instruction set from designer perspective, not from the user perspective. Alright. Now this is the first group, data transfer group. So in this data transfer group, you just see that I am having 8 bit of information in my hand. Total 2 to the power 8 equal to 256 different instructions I can design. So if you look into this particular way, then you will find that this is the first instruction. We are saying move R1 to R2. Move R1, R2. What does it mean? The contents of register R2 will be moved to the register R1. This is the way that we are going to look into it. So now what is the format? You just see that first 2 bit is always 0, 0 for this particular data transfer group. Sorry, it is 0, 1. So basically it is just coming in such a way that if first 2 bits become, or most 2 significant bits become 0 and 1, generally it falls in data transfer group. But sometimes something may be used for some other purposes also. We will tell you when we are going to use this particular thing. So here itself I can tell you, but before that you come to this issue. So this is it is going from moving information from R2 to R1. So in this particular case, the DDD, this is going to give me the register encoding of the destination register, and SSS is going to give me the address of my source register. So now you just see, now what will happen if I am going to get the instruction move AB. So what does it mean? We are moving the information from register B to register A. So this is what is the machine code 01, first 2 bit is my going to indicate that this is in data transfer group. So it is register A is your accumulator and register encoding is your 7 and B is your basically 0. So this is your source, this is your destination. So it is basically transferring information from B to A. Now if I look into it, then here what happens, here I am going to get 7 and 8. So this is 78 is the machine code for this particular instruction, but this 78 is in hexadecimal format. So this 4-bit will give 7 and this will give 8. Okay. So this is the way that we are going to look into it. Okay. Now this is the output. Now by giving the different register encoding, we are going to get several different instructions. Okay, now in this particular you just see that we are having 7 different register. Okay, these 7 different register can be transferred to other 6 different register. Or on the other hand, if I say that, if I am going to say like that 0 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. So in this particular format, what does it mean? Source register is also accumulator, destination register is also accumulator. So it is not having any meaning. So in this particular case, this is basically 7F. Okay. Whether I can keep this instruction as it is just transferring the information from accumulator to accumulator where net result is 0, or what will happen, this 7F, this opcode can be used to design some other instruction. It may not fall in this particular register movement or say data transfer group, but since it is not having such importance because transferring the contents from one register to one register, same register is meaningless. So this particular code can be used to design some other instruction. We don't have any problem. Now here we are having 7 register. From this 7 register, we can transfer it to the other 6 registers. So 7 6 are 42. So in this particular case, this is an instruction. I am saying that move R1 to R2. Basically, in this category itself, in this move instruction itself, we are designing 42 different instructions. You understand? Say we are having total 256 different combination with the help of 8-bit. So we can design 256 different instruction. Out of these 256 different combination, we are using 42 combination to design this particular register movement operation. Okay, so this is a one class of data transfer operation, transferring information from register to register. Second one is your move RM. It says that transfer the information from a memory location to a specified register. So here it says that this is my destination DDD. It is coming up with this particular destination register, and this 111 when this 110. Already I said that we have not used that 110 to indicate any register. When this information comes 110, it says that basically we are referring to a memory location. So that means source will be a memory location and destination will be a, or destination is a register. Okay. So this is the way I can say now we are having one source and one destination. So in first operation move R1 to R2, here for both source and destination, in for both the cases it is your register direct addressing mode. We are having the addressing mode. So for here both source and destination we are using register direct addressing mode. But in this particular case when I am using move RM, so in this particular case in destination we are using register direct, and in case of source we are using memory direct. Okay, we are going to give the address. Now how to specify the memory address from where we are going to bring the data? The designer of the 8085 has designed in such a way that it says that whenever we are going to encounter this particular instruction, it says that the memory address will be always picked up from the contents of this particular register pair H and L. So whatever value we have in the register pair H, L and that will be treated as the address of this particular source. Now, for example, if I say that if I am saying 0, 1, okay, and D, if I say that this is your 0, 0, 1, and here I am going to get 1, 1, 0. So, in this particular case, what I am going to get, this is my 4 and this is your D. So, if 4D in hexadecimal, it basically done like that, move, this is your 0, 0, 1 is C, F. That means we are going to take the contents of a memory location M, and wherefrom I am going to get the address of this particular memory location. It is from this particular register pair H and L. Okay. So, whatever value we have in this register pair H and L, that information will be treated as the memory address. From this particular memory address, we are going to pick up the information and we are going to put into this particular register C. Okay. Now, in this particular destination DDD, we are having 7 different registers. So, that means in this category, we are going to design or we are going to get 7 instructions. Okay, is it clear? So, just see that this is the way designer has designed it. You just see, when I am going to talk about the memory, I have to give the memory address. When we are going to give the memory address, we need 16 bit of information. But in the instruction, that is implicit. We need not to give this particular 16 bit of information. Always it is going to look into the contents of this particular HCL register pair. What is the contents of this HCL register pair? That will be treated as an address, and from this memory location it will bring the information and going to put into the destination register. Okay. Now this is the way designer has designed it. Alright. So you just say for this particular group we are going to get at least 42. For this particular class I am going to get 7 different instructions. This is the way we can look into it. The third instruction is reverse of the second instruction. It is move MR. That means from a particular register, it will take the contents and going to put into some memory location. And where from it is going to get this particular address of the memory location, again it will come from this particular HL register. Okay. So, this is again a memory movement. So, in this particular case, you just say that for source, this is the register direct, and for memory, again it is your memory direct. Alright. So, in this particular case, if I am going to say this is your 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, then if I say that this is your 0, 0, 0, then what does it mean? 0, 0, 0 is going to indicate about my register B. So, this is basically 7, 0 in hexadecimal. This opcode is basically related to move MB. That means from register B, transfer the information to memory location. To which memory location we are going to transfer it? We are going to transfer it to a memory location whose address is available in this particular HL register. Along with that, here we are having some information called cycles. In the previous one also you can say and states, and this is the addressing mode. It is saying register indirect, because here we are going to have register indirect. For this particular in register we are having the address. From there we are going to get the address of a memory location. Okay, and here it is register direct. Though we are saying it is register indirect, but basically always you have to see, if we are having two operands, then addressing mode may be different for both these two operands. Okay, and this is flag is none. Basically what it says, we are having 5 flag bits. Okay, so when I am performing this particular movement operation, data movement operation, it is not going to sense those particular flag bits, because already I said that flag bits will be set or reset depending on my ALU operation. Here we have not performed any ALU operation, just simply here transferring the information. And what is this cycles and states? I am just going to give you some idea about it. Let's go back to our this particular timing diagram. So this is a memory cycle. Okay, it is a read memory cycle, and to carry out this particular read memory cycle we need 3 clock cycle T1, T2, T3. So these are the 3 different states. Okay, and this is one memory read cycle. So in this particular instruction, what will happen? We need 2 cycles, and maybe one is your 2 memory read basically, or one may be your this thing. So basically say you have to get this information, going to give the address. Okay, once address is identified, then we are going to pick up the data, then we are going to put it into a register. So for that, to perform this particular operation, we need total 7 clock cycle. Okay, so this is the steps it is saying. So 7 clock cycle is required for executing this particular instruction, and these two are saying about 2 different steps. Okay. So now next instruction is your MVI data. This is move immediate. So when I am coming to move immediate, that means I am saying that in the immediate addressing mode, data will come along with the instruction. So it is a part of my program. So what will happen? We have to give the data in the program itself. So for that, it is a 2-byte instruction. So these are the 2-byte instruction. This is the first byte is the opcode, second byte is the data. So it is a 2-byte instruction. So whatever data we are giving over here, that will be transferred to this particular register R. And to which register? Whatever destination register we are giving over here. Okay. So similarly, second one is your MVIM data. That means in the program it is again 2-byte instruction. We are giving the data. So where we are going to transfer this particular data? To some memory location. Okay. And where from we are going to get the address of this memory location? It will be given in this particular HL register pair. Okay. So in this particular case, what will happen? Say if we want to put something in some memory location, or when you are going to write this particular instruction, before that we have to put some information in this particular register H and L. Maybe it is a move operation. So basically you can say that if now I am going to write something like that, move H10, that means I am transferring 10 to the H register, and if I say that move or say MVI, okay, this is basically immediate addressing. L says 00, that means in HL register pair now I am having 1000 say in hexadecimal. After that, if I write these things, MVI M50, then what will happen? This is the data 50 that I am having. We are going to transfer it to some memory location. So what is that memory location? This memory location is 10,000. So in 10,000 memory location, oh sorry, it is 1000. In 1000 memory location, we are going to put this data 50. So this is the way that we can interpret. So this is basically again that data movement category only. Next, we are having again data movement, but it is going to transfer the information to a register pair. So this is the register pair information. So in this particular case, I am saying that 00 is going to indicate register pair BC. So if I am going to say like that 00000001, okay. So that means this is your 01 in hexadecimal. So if opcode is 01, then what operation basically we are performing? It is a 3-byte instruction. This is the lower order byte and this is the higher order. So we are going to give 16-bit data. So first byte is your opcode, second byte is 8-bit data, third byte is your another 8-bit data. So total 16-bit of data. So what it does basically, so 01 basically 00 means register pair BC. Okay, so when I am having this particular 01H, going to perform this particular byte 3 to the RH register high. So B is my register high. So B will get my, this is byte 3 and C will get the byte 2. Okay. So this is byte 1 is my opcode. This is byte 2, low order data, it will go to register C, and third byte is the higher order data, it will go to register B. Because we are using this register pair BC in this particular instruction, because now this is my 00. Now if we change this particular things to say 11, then basically we are going to talk about the stack pointer. So if this come as 1 1, that means it is your 31. In case of 31H, what will happen? We are going to transfer these two information to stack pointer. Alright. So this is the kind of data transfer operation. Here we have another two data transfer operation. It is an accumulator based operation. So most of the cases accumulator will be treated as one of the source or destination. So two special instruction is given over here. One is your LDA, load accumulator, and it is store accumulator. It is again a 3-byte instruction. Second and third byte is going to give me the address, low order address and high order address. So it is giving the address of a memory location. In case of load accumulator, the contents of this memory location will be transferred from memory to accumulator. And in case of store accumulator, the contents of the accumulator will be transferred to a memory location whose address is given in the next 2 bytes. So these are again 3-byte instruction. So here just I am talking about giving some idea how designer has designed it, and according to our requirement how they are coming up this particular opcode. Okay. So you just see these are the opcodes that we have used over here. Okay. So we can now design more instruction like that. So if you see that I am talking about your data transfer operation, and you just see that everything cannot be done with your 0 1, because with 0 1 how many instruction you can design? This is your remaining 6 bit 2 to the power 6, which is your 64. Now if you look into it, you will find that you are designing more than 64 instruction, because first two instruction itself is giving me 42 and 7, so which is your 49. So since all the data movement operation cannot be done with this particular 0 1, so that's why you are taking help of this particular 0 0 also. Some of the bit patterns of these two most significantly 0 0 is used again in the data movement category. So this is your register pair also, this is your 0 0. For load accumulator and store accumulator is also 0 0. Now my next category is your arithmetic operation. So here this is add R. So this is going to add the value of a register to the value of the accumulator and going to store the result in your accumulator. So this is the format. So in this particular case, say we are having this particular source 1. Here I have to give some registers. So basically if I say that 1 0 0 0 0 and so this is source is yours 0 0 1. So 0 0 1 basically means register C. So this is basically 81. So this 81H, this opcode is related to your at C. That means result is your value of accumulator is equal to A plus C. This is the way that we can say. Now here we can give 6 different registers. Okay, so we are going to get 6 different meaningful operation. Now here you just see it is having one cycle, it takes 4 steps, means 4 clock cycle. So it is addressing mode is register, because here I am going to give the register, and you just see now flags. Now all the flags may get affected. So we are having 5 different flags. It is your Z flag, 0 flag. If my result is 0, then Z flag will be set. It is as is sign flag. If it is negative, then it is set. If it is positive, then it is 0. P is your parity check. You have to see now, it is going to for error correction. Generally, we use the parity bit. Either we may have even parity or odd parity. So here we are using one particular parity. Okay. CY is your auxiliary carry and AC is your total carry out. So if when we are going to add two numbers, it is going to generate some carry, then this carry will be given by this particular stored in this particular flag bit. And CY, I think maybe you have to check it out. One is your auxiliary carry and second one is your carry out. Auxiliary carry is basically related to your carry out from the lower 4 bit. Okay, because it is a 8-bit one, so we can use 4-bit and 4-bit, because in your BCD we need only 4-bit. In PEG BCD we can use only 4-bit. So for that, this carry is, if lower 4-bit generates a carry, then it is going to put in a particular flag, and we say this is the auxiliary carry. So one is the carry out after 8-bit addition, and auxiliary carry is the carry out of lower 4-bit addition. Okay. So these are the 5 flag bits. So depending on the operation, depending on the data, some of those particular flag bit will get affected. Okay. Now second one is your add them. So this is basically what will happen. One operation, it is basically operand will come from my accumulator, and second operand will come from a memory location. From which memory location we are going to get it? It is the same concept we are using. We are using the HL register pair. So the memory location pointed by the HL register pair will be used over here. We are going to get this particular data, add the contents with the accumulator, and store the result in your accumulator. Okay. So this is basically taking one input from the memory location, and from which memory location we are going to take it? From this particular HL register pair. Okay. So this is two operation I am saying, arithmetic operation, like that we are having several arithmetic operation, but design format is same, and you can say most of the cases all arithmetic operation may fall in this particular 1 0. If no significant bit will be 1 0. Okay. After that we are having another category, which is your condition or bunch control. Okay, now here we are having some flag bits. So Z flag, carry flag. So CY is the carry flag, parity flag. So if it is 0 for your odd parity and 1 for your even parity, plus and minus. So these are the flag bits, and those flag bits will be used to design some instructions. So this is NZ, not 0. So this is the code. If it is condition code is 0 0, then we say this is basically NZ. So basically if I say that jump JNZ, jump on not 0, it may be an instruction. Okay. So in this particular case, what will happen? It is going to check the 0 bit, and if 0 bit is 0, then it says that the result is not 0. So you have to jump to some destination address. Okay. So we have to give the address of a memory location from where we are going to get the next instruction. So this is your, that's why it is your 3-byte instruction. First byte will give the opcode, then we are having lower address and higher address. So what is this basically? This is your 1100. This is 12. Okay, 12 is C, and this is your 0011. This is 3. So C3 is going to talk about the unconditional jump. Without any condition, we are going to jump it. So if I say that C3 10,000, then what will happen? In this particular case, we are going to jump to this particular memory location 1000. That means, say, if I am executing a particular program, say I am fetching this particular jump instruction from, say, 985 memory location. Okay, this is the opcode. Then in other two address, I am having this particular content. Then after execution of this instruction, the next instruction will be taken from this particular memory location 1000. It is not going to take from the very next instruction. So this is unconditional jump instruction. Like that, now we can design 8 different conditional branch instruction depending on those particular code. So this is the format: jump, conditional, then address. Again, this is a 3-byte instruction. Now depending on this particular condition code, say if it is 000, then what will happen? I am going to get C2. Okay. So in case of C2, what will happen? You will find that this is your not 0. Okay. So this is basically jump not 0. So if we are performing one arithmetic operation, if result is not 0, then you jump to this particular address that is provided over here. Okay. So this is the way that we can look into it. So what program counter value will be in this particular case? Byte 3 and byte 2. This is high order address, this is the low order address. Okay. This is the way that we can look into it. Now the next instruction is your call instruction. So this is basically related to the procedure call or function call. So this is the way it is designing it. Now since we have not discussed about the stack pointer and like that, so we are not going to explain it today. When we are going to talk about the call return issues while going to design the processor at that particular time, again I may come back and I can explain basically how it is implemented in your 8085. Okay, so with this I'll stop or I'll close my lecture here. Thank you very much.